Now, the government had a problem because there was a photographer from the AP named Elkins, and he was standing right in front of the limousine as it was coming down Elm Street. And he took a picture. Jack Kennedy had been hit in the throat. You could see him with his hands up through the windshield. And in the back was the Texas School Book Depository. Now, that means if they had planted the evidence that Lee Harvey Oswald was in the sixth floor of the Texas School Book Depository, all the shots had to come from the back. And Oswald was arrested about an hour after the airplane left Love Field to come back to Washington. By the way, they called at Parkland, they called it a local funeral home. They got a ceremonial casket. They put Jack Kennedy's body in the ceremonial casket, and the Secret Service took it out at gunpoint because the autopsy should have been done by the doctors at Parkland. This was a local murder. It was not a federal crime to kill the President of the United States. Secret Service made sure they got the body, and they grabbed it at gunpoint and got it out of Parkland as fast as they could get it out of there. Now, on the flight back, after Lyndon Johnson had been sworn in, the airplane takes off from Love Field. About an hour into the flight, it's announced that they've captured Lee Harvey Oswald, and he is the killer, the assassin. They found on the sixth floor, Texas School Book Depository, 3 cartridge shells from a Mannlicher Carcano rifle, 6.5 millimeter shells. They found a rifle. At first, they reported the rifle was a Mauser, and Walter Cronkite can be seen saying it was a Mauser, but the Mauser is even stamped on the trigger mechanism, a metal mechanism. Well, that gun disappeared and suddenly became a Mannlicher Carcano when the FBI produces evidence, surprisingly, that Lee Harvey Oswald had ordered a Mannlicher Carcano rifle by mail order, although the government never proved that he did order it or that he received it. At any rate, the setup is now in motion.
Yeah.
Okay.
Can I interrupt you for just a second and kind of, okay.
Make it a dialogue, please.
Yeah. Let me go back to the room where the doctors, so they're trying to save JFK's life and they're having these conversations. These conversations that you're relaying to us, are these common knowledge? I mean, obviously, if they did a press conference afterwards and they said he was shot, they said in that press conference he was shot from the front, or was it just that he did, or was it just the emotion? It was both?
They said repeatedly he was shot from the front. In fact, just recently, most of this has been suppressed until recently. They actually had on one of the major streaming services, they just showed the Parkland doctors. This has been old footage, but the Parkland doctors who are yet surviving get a broadcast for about an hour and a half, and they're on film today saying that the doctors at Parkland, and they being present, saw frontal shots.
Yeah.
These were not, so that's now come out, I think, and is fully documented.
And so that wasn't ever, I mean, this was a press conference. Was it never aired? Did mainstream media never pick it up? Like, how did that not make the rounds?
It was aired. There are transcripts of it. It was suppressed. What happened was, as the airplane was coming back to Washington, the government had a problem.
Mm-hmm.
The body had frontal shots, and the narrative from Lee Harvey Oswald was that he had to have fired all the shots from behind.
Yeah.
He's the guy that they've set up to be the fall guy.
Right.
Okay, so it's recognized even before the airplane leaves Love Field that they've got a problem.
Right.
They've got this body, they've got to alter the wounds. So when they get, before they leave Love Field, and this, by the way, the book is a 564-page book.
Right. Yes. Which is great that there's so much information in it. I want to just so that I could kind of be clear on what we know and versus what you've uncovered in your investigation on this. So we know this, the press conference exists. So there's record of that. We know that for sure. How do we know about the conversation that happened inside the operating room where they said, look, his brain, I mean, is that common knowledge, that conversation?
It's public record. There've been books written about it. It's in the public record. There's testimony before the various commissions. The doctors have said this, and we quote and give, there's probably 1,000 footnotes in this book.
Yeah.
So that statement is in the book, and it is quoted and footnoted.
Okay. And then when the Secret Service came to take the casket at gunpoint, is that also known by the public at this point, or is this
Yes.
new information as well?
No, this has been known, and again, it's documented, and it's clear that that's what happened. That's been known for some time.
Now, why did they have to take the casket by gunpoint? Are they from the doctors?
Well, if they had let the autopsy be done in Dallas, where you had a doctor who was a legitimate autopsy doctor, and they in Dallas had identified the wounds were from the front, the autopsy would have said Jack Kennedy was hit twice from the
Right.
front.
Sure, sure. But why did they need to do it by gunpoint? I mean, don't you think that they would have just cooperated with the Secret Service?
No, the doctors and doctor they came down, I think, with the justice of the peace and the Dr. Earl Rose, who was going to do the autopsy, and they said, you may not take this body. We have authority over this body. They were insisting legally, the doctors in Parkland Hospital, that they had the legal authority to do the autopsy, and they were insisting upon the right to do it. And our Secret Service said, no, you're not doing an autopsy. And we have gunpoint right here, and we've pulled our guns. We're taking the body. What are you going to do about it?
How do people explain that? If that is common knowledge that this happened, that the Secret Service took it by gunpoint, how do people who try to combat the conspiracy theories, right? There's all those people, oh no, the narrative is the narrative and that's the way that it is. What do they say about that incident? Because that is extremely suspect.
Well, there's always, and the book, by the way, at the back of the book, we have a CIA memo from 1967, which said anybody who objects to the Warren Commission, they're going to run a psychological operation on and destroy. Because the official policy of the CIA since the assassination has been that the narrative story is flawed, but they are going to insist that it's true.
And if you say otherwise, then you are a conspiracy theorist. And they even turned that phrase was from this assassination.
It was coined in this assassination to destroy anyone who was looking for the truth. Okay, so this is the taking the body at gunpoint should have been a warning sign to everyone that this was not legitimate.
Right.
Right. But they were just acting on the emotion of the moment. This was a very first of all, the assassination itself was a flawed operation. There were a lot of mistakes in it. One mistake was this Alchin's photograph, which showed that the gunfire didn't occur until after the limousine had gone past the Texas School Book Depository, which means if that's where the sniper's nest was, if that's where this rifle was and the 3 cartridges, then Lee Harvey Oswald had to have waited. Jack Kennedy was right in front, turning onto Elm Street in front of the Texas School Book Depository. He had a shot straight down on him, but no, he waited until he's at a distance. And the Elm Street, by the way, winds, and it's a 3-degree angle down, and there's a tree there. And so you got to shoot through the tree or past the tree on a declining shot and a winding shot. That's a hard shot. So this is shooting at the President of the United States to kill him is not an arcade game. You don't get points.
No. Right.
You probably take your best shot.
It's interesting. So clearly, I mean, in my mind, what I would assume if there were 3 different shooters in this scenario, that one of them was like the command shooter and said, okay, we're waiting until it's time to shoot. Right. So it'd be interesting if we could find who these people are, if they're still alive today, to find out if they waited because it was a mistake, because clearly they made a mistake, right, in waiting. They should have fired earlier.
Let me kind of decode this for. First of all, the kill zone was marked out on the curb in yellow paint. You can see in the photographs that they had painted a section of the curb yellow, and that's where the kill zone was. That was obvious. At the time, very few people noticed it, but here you come along a curb, and right here it's painted yellow, and that's where the kill zone is. Secondly, you've got 3 shooters, and this is on time shooting operation. These are professionals.
Yeah.
So there's a signal to start the shooting, and everybody counts 1-100, 2-100, 3-100, shoot again, 1-100, 2-100, and everybody's team shooting.
Right.
So there could have been a lot of shots going on, but they would all sound like one because they were all grouped together. Okay, and so who the shooters are is really of minor importance because they would have picked the best shots they could find worldwide. They would have had these were people who shot Jack Kennedy. First of all, there's several things about it if you're going to shoot at the president. Number one, if you're going to shoot at the president of the United States, you got to kill him. You don't want him to live. So there are probably a bunch of shooters, and maybe shooters even on the other side of the triple underpass, because you're not going to let the president get away. Secondly, you're going to kill him in a crossfire, and you're hoping that you won't have this, Elgin's photograph. You won't have all the considerations of how these doctors at Parkland perceived the injuries. You won't have them going public with a press conference. And so this little detail that you had to kill him, you were shooting at him from the front and the back, every possible way you could make sure to get him. And this kill zone, which is what Dealey Plaza is, it's a little triangular area. It's not a very big area. But the car is coming down, and you've got a clear shot from the grassy knoll, got a clear shot from the railroad bridge, Daltech's building behind him. There's probably 5 or 6 good shooting locations in that, and there could have been shooters on the rooftops. We don't know entirely.
Yeah.
The drivers, Kellerman, who was one of the Secret Service agents, said there were a flurry of shots, and there was shots the damage that was done was massive. There's damage inside the limousine to the chrome of the limousine. Looks like a bullet was stuck in there. But the point is that the crime scene was destroyed almost immediately. The government made sure that the crime scene went away. And what came into its place was a government lying narrative, which the mainstream media was then prepared to support. And they did not do investigations. They went with the official theme. And it's broadcast by Walter Cronkite and all the agencies. They've got Lee Harvey Oswald. Lee Harvey Oswald is shot. Jack Kennedy shot on Friday. Lee Harvey Oswald is shot by Jack Ruby on Sunday.
Yeah.
He's dead, so he can't talk. He's silenced.
Hey guys, this was just a clip of a longer show. Catch the full show by going to KimIversonShow.com. It is free. It airs Monday through Friday, 5 p.m. Pacific, 8 p.m. Eastern. You could go back now and watch this full interview. I highly recommend it. Again, go to KimIversonShow.com. Thank you so much for watching.